All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And this is the conclusion to our summer workshop series where we talk about all the different things that your law firm could be doing to improve its marketing, to have more effective marketing. And we've gone over a lot over the last couple of months. This presentation is really supposed to be like a summary of all of those. So if you weren't able to join us for those previous webinars or you haven't watched those recordings, this is the one that is going to kind of walk through all of those different strategies that we talked about. Now, I did link to the PDF workbook in our chat. So if you are joining us live, you can download that. If you registered, we will send out the PDF along with this video as well. So today's topic is turning clicks into cases. What that means is we're taking clicks that we get through SEO, pay-per-click, social media, and we are going to talk about ways we can nurture those clicks, those leads into actual paying clients. Now, as a digital marketing agency, really all we can do for our clients is develop leads, right? We're not on the phone, we're not closing deals, we're not getting people to sign retainer agreements. But there are ways in which we can nurture potential leads to becoming paid clients. And that's what we want to talk about today. Some of these things you can do on your own. A lot of law firms are really good at doing these things. They have these systems in place and these processes in place to nurture their clients. Other firms, may be stretched at capacity and they're not able to do this at scale. And so some of these strategies that we're going to talk about are going to help you do that. So just a little bit of homework or housekeeping, I should say. My name is Tyler Roberts. I'm a co-founder at Nomos Marketing. We are a full-service marketing agency for law firms. We work with solo and small law firms across the US, helping them with SEO, pay-per-click, social media, websites, branding, you name it. We also do photo and video for clients. And one of our newer services is creating marketing funnels through ebooks and webinars, which we'll talk about here in this presentation. So what we're going to cover today is creating a clear marketing message, writing good call to action, building an email capture, developing a conversion-focused website, and optimizing your leads and converting leads into clients. So we've talked about all of these different topics throughout the summer. We just want to provide that high-level overview here. That way we can really kind of dive into it a little bit more and kind of see how all this stuff comes together. If you've been following along all summer, you've been getting pieces of our workbook, but the comprehensive workbook is here, so you can download that. And if you don't have that and you need it, you can always email us and we'll be sure to send that to you. So step one is creating a clear marketing message. Why are we starting here? A lot of times we want to jump straight into the tactics for marketing. We want to have that Facebook ad. We want to have good SEO, but we don't have a good, clear offer that we're going to present to the market. So we want to start here by creating a clear marketing message. I love this statement that if you confuse, you lose. You want to make sure that your message tells people what you do, who you serve, and how you do it. That way it's easy for them to understand. Remember, a lot of people are not used to buying legal services. This may be the first time they're hiring a lawyer. They don't know what to expect. They don't know what kind of lawyer they need. So by telling them exactly what you do and the problem that you solve is going to really clear up a lot of questions that they may have and help them make a decision sooner. So a quick action item, look at your website. Do you have a clear, simple statement above the fold, the first thing that people see when they come to your website that clearly articulates what it is you do and who you serve? If not, that might be one good place to start. Also look at your landing page, look at your bio on Instagram, look at your about statement on Facebook. These are all great places to make sure that your marketing message, that kind of simple 1 to 2 sentences, is included. So the first thing here, determine your target audience. And a lot of times we tend to overthink this. This is a really simple formula that you can follow. Basically, you just want to fill in the blanks here. So like, as someone who has blank, I want to blank so that I can blank. Now, what does this look like? In very simple terms, we'll start with personal injury. As someone who's been injured in an accident, I want to find a personal injury lawyer so I can pay my medical bills. So right there, you kind of have identified your target audience. It's someone who has a problem that you can solve, and they're willing to pay you to solve that problem for them. The next step here is, hold on a second, a little bit of lag time here with the slides. The next thing you want to do here is list 3 problems that you can solve for your clients, right? So what are they going through that may be kind of pain points for them? Are they getting those medical bills in the mail? Are they experiencing pain and suffering? Are they having a hard time keeping up with their medical treatment? What are some of those non-legal problems that they have that you can kind of guide them through, and where you can really step in and help them? Putting an end to debt collections right then and right there, getting them off the phone with the insurance companies and kind of taking on that responsibility for them. Those are all kind of problems that you can kind of list out that are going to really help you determine what that marketing message should be. You also want to talk about the psychology of your client. So what are the problems that they're facing? What are the emotions that they're experiencing? What are they hoping to accomplish by hiring your firm? Remember, they don't want to hire a lawyer. They want to solve their problem, and hiring a lawyer is a means to the end. So figure out what it is they ultimately want to accomplish and tie your marketing message to that accomplishment. The other thing that you want to do is talk about what people can expect when working with your firm. So who are they going to speak to? Are they going to speak to an attorney or a paralegal or someone else at the firm? There's not really one that's better than the other. It just really depends on how your law firm is structured. You want to tell people exactly what to expect. You don't want to kind of bait and switch them. You want to make sure that they feel comfortable with what they are going to be doing. The next thing you want to do is you want to talk about like what's going to look like when they're working with you. Are they going to get frequent updates on their case? Can they text you? Can they call you? Can they email you? What's that communication flow look like? Now, once you kind of figure out like the problems, you get into the psychology, you've kind of laid out kind of expectations for your clients. Think about what success looks like for a client, right? Like they don't want to just hire a lawyer. They want to solve their problem. So examples of success across multiple practice areas could be, protecting your children, achieving financial stability, clarity about the future, caring for a loved one, making a full financial recovery, growing your business. It could be something really exciting like hiring a business attorney, saving a family home, let's say like from foreclosure or bankruptcy, relief from debt. These are just examples to kind of get your mind thinking about like, what is it that someone's trying to ultimately accomplish and how can I help them do that? You also want to figure out what failure looks like. And this will become important when we talk about like your call to action. So failure is like failure to take action or failure to hire the right attorney. So for example, it could be like not getting the attention that you need by hiring a bigger law firm. It could be anxiety about the future because you haven't taken action to solve your problem. It could be the burden of debt. It could be a risk to your business. It could be time in prison if you work with criminal defendants. So these are just, again, examples of things that you can start to think about in terms of like, what does failure look like if someone doesn't hire my law firm? So now that we have all that in place, we've figured out our target audience, we've figured out like their problems, their emotions, their pain points, what they're hoping to accomplish. We want to write a call to action that's going to move them to contact the firm. So call to action will be important for pretty much any sort of marketing that you're doing. There's going to be two types of call to actions. There's going to be like your direct call to action, like contact us today by emailing us, filling out a form, calling, whatever it may be. And then there may be a transitional call to action. And transitional call to actions are going to be those that take a cold lead to a warm lead. And that could be something like downloading an ebook, joining a newsletter subscription list, watching a webinar, downloading a PDF, reading a white paper, something like that is going to take that first step of being a stranger to your firm to getting to know you and getting to like you and wanting to hire you. So with your direct call to action, you want to call your audience to action and be very explicit in terms of what you want them to do. And you want to provide a few different options too. So that way someone can reach out to you in a way that they feel comfortable. So tell people exactly what they need to do to get started and make it as simple as possible and connect the call to action with a successful outcome. So first part of this, tell people exactly what they need to do. A lot of times you'll see a button that just says contact us, right? Contact us today. Well, what does that even mean? Like if I contact you, am I going to talk to someone for 15 minutes? Am I going to talk to them for an hour? Is this a paid consultation? Is this free? What do you want me to do first? And so a lot of times it's like, talk to our intake specialist. Why can't you say that on your website or in your call to action to tell people exactly what they're going to expect once they contact the firm? You also want to make it as simple as possible. So like I said, there may be people who feel more comfortable calling you rather than emailing you. Some people may want to use a chat feature. Some people may want to use text. So find a way to make it really easy for your leads to get in contact with you. The appropriate messaging channel may depend on your target audience, right? So if you have an underserved community that you work with, email may not be the best way to contact someone. It may be through, let's say, WhatsApp or text. So start to think about ways in which your clients like to communicate and find a way to connect your call to action to that. Now, the last part of this, connect your call to action with a successful outcome. I love putting together like case studies or testimonials, or kind of like painting a picture of success for the client to show them, hey, when you contact us, this is what you can expect, and this is what the outcome is going to be, right? So that could be something like, you're going to get all of your questions answered. We're going to put a stop to the bill collectors. We're going to jump on a call with the insurance adjusters, and we're going to start to work this out with them. So connect that successful outcome to the call to action. It's not that they want to talk to you for 15 minutes, right? They don't want to go through your intake process. They want to solve their problem. So you want to make sure that you're connecting that effort to the solution. So define success. Don't sell the flight, sell the vacation. Again, nobody wants to buy the ticket. Like, they're not getting on the plane for the sake of getting on the plane. They want to go somewhere. They want to get to their destination. So sell that vacation to them. Focus on the benefits of reaching out and not the features, right? So talk about the benefits of working with your firm over another firm. And then finally, show them what life looks like after representation. So again, connect it to that successful outcome. Another step you can take to really make this super powerful is define failure for them. So what happens if they decide to do this on their own? What happens if they don't take any action at all? And what's going to happen if they hire one of your competitors and they don't hire you? I love to phrase it this way: what are they going to miss out on by not hiring your firm? And that's a great way to kind of position your brand as like the choice for this particular lead. All right, so that's our direct call to action. We're going to talk about transitional call to actions here in just a minute. So the third step to kind of building a system that's going to help you turn clicks into cases is building an email capture. This is also called like a lead magnet or lead generator. It really depends on that terminology is used kind of interchangeably. And so today we're just going to call it an email capture. Basically, what we're trying to do is we're trying to capture lead information before they're ready to contact you and jump on the phone with you. So getting contact information is absolutely critical for your law firm. 86% of the time, law firms fail to collect an email address on initial call. I can't tell you how many times we do pay-per-click ads for a client, and they're spending thousands and thousands of dollars on ads every single month. And we'll listen to the calls with them to figure out what's going on. Like, where's the disconnect between the conversions we're seeing on landing page versus like actual paid clients? And a lot of times it's on that first call. They're not getting the contact information to follow up. So if someone's not signing up or joining a consultation call on that initial call, they lose that lead forever. So think of ways in which you can start to collect that information, even if it is through a direct call to action. So your transitional call to action can look something like downloading an ebook, downloading a PDF checklist, an on-demand webinar, an online assessment, right? So like some sort of quiz, a white paper, or a digital resource. One of the things that I really like to see law firms do is just create like a Google Doc with links to everything that someone may need, in order to solve the problem that they're trying to solve. So if you're a criminal defense attorney, one example could be like a list of all the different resources and like a link to the map for for the courthouses, right? A link to the dress code for the courthouse, like just really easy things that like you kind of take for granted that you may advise a client on, but put it into a Google Doc and just make that part of like your lead capture. We talked about building an email list. We call this an email capture. You could also capture, let's say, like a phone number if you wanted to text your clients that way. You could also do a physical address if you wanted to send something physically in the mail, like a book. So think about what your ideal client would trade for that piece of content, right? If they are willing to give up their address in order to get a book, or they're willing to give up their email in order to get like a PDF checklist, or their phone number in order to watch a video, think about what that trade is, right? Like, they're trading their time and their attention in order to receive this piece of content. And in doing so, they are getting something that's of value to them, and they're going to start to feel a little bit more indebted to you. They're going to feel like you have the kind of the authority and the credibility to solve their problem. And so it really starts to help kind of build you up as like the only, or I shouldn't say the only, but the best option for them as they're looking for an attorney. So outline your offer. What will your topic cover? What question does your ideal client want answered, right? So what's the problem that they are currently facing? Not necessarily the big picture problem, but like the first problem, right? What can you do to help them with that first problem? If it's a personal injury client, for example, and they're having trouble keeping up with their medical bills, solve that problem for them. Answer those questions about like what they can expect when dealing with an attorney with their medical bills, how to stop debt collections, things of that nature. How will this information transform the life of your client? So if they get that information, can they stop, the debt collectors from coming to their door? Can they stop the calls from the insurance companies? Can they go back to living their life and, supporting their families and focusing on themselves and their recovery? And then finally, what does your ideal client need to trade in order to access the information? So it could be just a name and a phone number. It could be name, phone number, email. It could be name, phone number, email, address. It really depends on what you're trying to do and what you want to deliver to the client. And also what the client's going to be most willing to give up for that piece of information. Now, there's nothing saying that you can't try this at different times and kind of A/B test, right? So you could try doing just email. You could try doing just a phone number. There are so many ways in which you could go about this and kind of test out to see what would work optimally for your law firm. So just a few examples I'm going to run through in terms of like lead captures that you could use for your website or your marketing campaigns. First one's pretty obvious. It's an ebook. Simple way to do this: identify 5 benefits of working with your firm. Write 150 to 250 words for each benefit. Design your ebook in Canva or in Google Slides. There's a lot of great templates out there. And then upload that PDF to your website or funnel and put it behind an email capture. I'm kind of oversimplifying this, but if you were to like just sit down and do this, like even this afternoon, I guarantee you have the information on hand in order to create this. The design part is kind of like secondary. I want something that looks really nice and like neatly designed. Clients like that as well. But at the end of the day, it's the information that they want. So even if it's just a Google Doc and like a PDF, that can be enough to get you moving in this direction. The other thing is online resources. So I mentioned this where it's like a list of helpful resources in a PDF or a Google Sheet or Google Doc. Link out to that resource or provide an attachment and put it behind an email capture. You can upload that to your website or your funnel. You can use that, like let's say in your social media profiles, something like that to kind of guide your ideal client to. So just a few action items here. Think about what information your lead capture is going to cover. How are you going to deliver that information to people? What is the title going to be? So, I love using ChatGPT to do this. Come up with 5 catchy titles and select the best one, or test them out over the course of a few months and see which one generates the most leads. Decide what people need to do in order to access the lead capture. Do they need to provide their name and their email and their phone number? Can you get by with just their email or just their phone number and make it really simple for people to do this? So just think through that. And again, you can test that out. And then finally, what do people get in return? Provide a description of what's in this resource. Talk about the benefits of downloading it, and talk about the results that they can expect if they follow the information that's in there. Now, a lot of times we want to overthink this. We want to get super technical. Just remember, a lot of people have never hired an attorney like you before, and they're trying to figure out what the next step is. If you can just answer a few questions for them, kind of demystify the process for them and make it easier for them, that's enough, right? You're providing so much value right there just by guiding them and helping them make a better decision for their future. All right, so we have our clear marketing message. We have our calls to action kind of figured out and how we want people to contact us. Now we want to develop a conversion-focused website. Now, a lot of websites out there are kind of like bookmarks, right, online that just say, hey, we're open for business, but they aren't really a tool for generating new leads. Now, there are some things that we think are kind of best practices, right, for developing a conversion-focused website. Everything I'm going to talk about today, I think, is absolutely necessary, but it's not an exhaustive list. So if you don't see something on here, it doesn't mean that's not important. It just means that these are kind of like the big things that we look for. So simple website checklist. Do you even have a website? If you don't, that might be the first step. Second step is looking at the messaging. So does it clearly state what you want to do, what you do and who you serve? Even a bad website that does this is going to get more conversions than like a well-designed website that's really confusing. Do you have clear CTAs throughout your website? So is it clear in terms of what that first step is for someone to contact you and hire you? Do you have testimonials and case results? We call this social proof. This shows people what success is going to look like if they hire your firm. And then do you have authentic photos and videos? I love this because so many law firms that I look at have stock images. It's one of the easiest ways to differentiate yourself in the market. If you have a clear photo of you in your office, no one else can use that photo. But if you have a stock image of a lawyer in their office, there's nothing stopping your competitors from using that exact same photo. So having a photographer come in for a couple hours, get some really good headshots, get some shots of the office of you walking through your town can go a really long way in creating a really beautiful conversion-focused website. And then lastly, I put in live chat. They could really be any sort of way to generate leads, right? So someone may not want to fill out a form. They may not want to call. They may just want some sort of asynchronous communication. They may want live communication. Live chat's a great way to capture those leads and just provide another option for people as they are looking to get started. All right, so what are some things that we want to see in a conversion-focused website? So we want to have a clear call to action above the fold. So here we can see that we have a button for free consultation as well as a button for a phone number, both right when you come onto the site. The other thing that you'll see here is that we have our 300 5-star reviews. So we're providing some social proof, and it's kind of like a quick stamp of approval right there when you go in. You can also see that this first line, Knoxville Personal Injury Attorneys, adequately describes what this law firm does. It's kind of shorthand, and it's also their H1 tag, so it's good for SEO. And then we have a short description below that. Now, obviously, their tagline takes up a lot of space here. You matter to us. This is something that has evolved over time and something that they continue to evolve. But really, it's what the law firm stands for. It's kind of their differentiator. One thing you can't see here is that there is a video background that's showing the office and showing the attorneys walking around the office and working together. So again, just bringing in some authentic photography and videography. So like we said, we have the CTA above the fold. You'll also see live chat at the bottom right-hand corner. We have our case results. We've got testimonials. They actually invested in video testimonials, which I absolutely love. I think that's such a great investment and something that you can use for years and years and years to come. We also have authentic photos. So we can see what it's like to come into their office. We can see that they love dogs. We can see that they have snacks. We can see that they have an actual personality and a culture that's welcoming and warm. And so that's something that's going to help them differentiate themselves from, let's say, a bigger out-of-state PI firm like Morgan & Morgan. So a few action items for you. Look at your website. Will people be able to understand what you do? That's kind of the first thing. If you have a website and people don't understand, they're not going to understand what you do, then cleaning up that marketing message is the first step. The next thing you want to look at is your CTA. Do you have a clear CTA like we talked about in previous slides? Does it tell people exactly what they need to do in order to get started? Do you have authentic photos? Even if it's just your iPhone, just go out and get a good, clear headshot. Have a friend take your photo. It's going to make a world of a difference if you have that on your homepage, because people are going to connect with you. They're going to see you. They're going to see what it's like to interact with you. It's going to kind of take away that barrier where, if they don't know what you look like, they just don't know what to expect. So people are going to connect with people. So make sure you have that on your homepage. Fourth, do you have social proof in the form of case studies, case results, testimonials? If not, go out and solicit some from some friends, former colleagues, former clients, and kind of curate those and put those onto your website as well. And then finally, do you have multiple ways to contact your firm? Not everyone's going to feel comfortable calling. Not everyone's going to feel comfortable emailing. Give them the option that's going to make them feel the most comfortable, and it's going to, again, break down that barrier to entry. All right, so we've talked about having a conversion-focused website. We've got our lead capture, or email capture, got great CTAs. Everything's in place. Now we want to figure out how we're going to actually start generating leads, right? So we're getting the clicks, so to speak, but we're not necessarily getting the cases yet. So we want to build a lead list. A lot of times we talk about leads and it's just like that phone call. And it's that one thing where like they make that phone call or they fill out that form completion and we have like one shot at it. And if they don't, then they're a lost lead. That's not the way that people operate. They need to be followed up on. And the firms that follow up are the ones that are going to be successful with their marketing. So think about your current process. Where do your leads, or how do your leads currently contact your firm? Is it through email, through form completion, through a phone call, through all the above? How do you respond to those leads when they reach out to you? Who in your office is responsible for communicating with those leads? And then where are your leads stored? And then what messaging channels are you using to follow up and reach back out? A lot of times, I know this seems really simple, but there's a lot of firms that we work with that don't have these questions answered. And there's no clear definitive process for intake or for capturing leads and following up with them. So answer these questions for yourself. I would say write it down as it is currently, and then kind of finesse it to see like, well, what should this look like in an ideal scenario, and start to train your team members and create the processes around that. So quick, easy tip. If you don't have a CRM, get one today. I've seen so many firms operate without one. A CRM is going to help you manage your leads and manage your sales. It's different than like, let's say, your like a project management tool, or different from, case management. This is truly top of the funnel marketing to make sure that you're following up on leads all the way to signing a retainer. There are a lot of great tools out there that you can use. Just search for CRM for attorneys. We actually have a simple one that we've developed and kind of customized for our clients. And so if you have questions about that, you can reach out to us. But this was a surprising statistic. 26% of law firms do not track their leads at all, meaning like they call, they don't convert, it's goodbye from there. They're just leaving money on the table. Now, I think that this is probably a better statistic than what it actually is. I think there's a lot of people who track leads, but there's no follow-up. They're putting them into an Excel sheet, for example, or they're putting them into like a Rolodex, or they're writing them down on a piece of paper. We've seen it all. The best way to do this, again, is to have a centralized system that all of your team members can work out of. So your action item from here is to find a simple CRM solution where you can store and track leads. Just get started there. Don't worry about the automations. Don't worry about building it out. Just find a place to track them if you aren't doing it right now. So where do your leads come from? They can come from live chat, a phone call, a website form, a Facebook message, Google My Business Messenger, Instagram DM, SMS messaging. There are so many ways that people can contact your firm. And so if you can figure out like where all these different leads are coming from, then you can delegate people to respond to those leads and follow up with them in ways that, in ways that they feel most comfortable. If you don't have a system for doing this, there are a ton of tools out there that can help you kind of consolidate all of your communication channels and give your team the ability to kind of centralize those communications. Once you've identified all of those lead channels, this is when you really start to build that lead list, right? So a lead is someone who has contacted your firm, they've interacted with your firm. And what we're looking for are engaged leads, people who you've had conversations with, people who've downloaded an ebook, people who've watched a webinar, people who have filled out a form. These are the contacts that you want to be reaching out to in marketing throughout the year. People may not be ready to hire you right on the spot, but they may be ready in 6 months. They may be ready in a year even. If you do something like estate planning, that nurture sequence could be 2 years. I've seen people, even for our own business, come back a year later after sending an initial proposal. And it's only because we followed up with them and we've nurtured them, that they were, that they eventually made that leap, right? So having your leads live in one place where you can track them and see where they are in your pipeline is absolutely critical. Now, what you're seeing here is that CRM that I mentioned that we kind of customize for our clients. This is actually the back end of ours. And so we can see, that we have people coming in from Google Ads. We can see people who are on like a long-term nurture list. We could classify people as ebook leads, webinar leads, what have you. And that way we can start to segment our list. We can communicate to people depending on the level of interaction that they've had with the firm. So don't miss out on business because you're missing a communication channel. 75% of consumers prefer private messaging channels versus traditional channels. So again, think about those things that you're not currently doing. Do you not have live chat on your website? Do you not have Google My Business Messenger? Do you not have Facebook Messenger or a system to follow up with them? It's not that that's going to become the primary communication channel for your firm. I wouldn't worry too much about too many people using it, but there may be that one or two, there's one or two people every month that want to reach out through those channels. And if you don't have it open, someone else will, and you're going to miss out on that business. So communicating with leads, again, find a central location to do this. You don't necessarily want to have someone at your front desk jumping from Instagram to Google My Business to Facebook to email to text, right? There's too many channels there for someone to keep track of that. And so find a way to kind of consolidate all that. There's a lot of tools out there that allow you to do that. We have one here in-house that kind of helps our clients look at their contact list, but then also see how they're communicating with them. It could be through email, through SMS, could be through Facebook Messenger. It just depends on how that lead came to the firm. So another cool statistic here that I love, 66% of consumers prefer mobile messaging. Consumers are 134% more likely to respond to a text than an email. A lot of law firms are kind of averse to using text messaging to communicate with clients because they don't necessarily want a client texting their cell phone. And that's totally understandable. There are ways and tools out there where you can have the ability to text your clients, about updates or text with leads where you're on your desktop and it's coming through a dedicated number, right? So we have it through CaseClicks, our internal CRM, but then there's other tools out there like Case Status that allows you to send push notifications and text notifications to clients. A little bit of research can really open up a lot of different opportunities for your firm. If that sounds like a lot, one of the easiest things you can do is get a cell phone for your front desk. And it's a dedicated cell phone that you can use for texting. And whoever is responsible for intake at your firm, they can text directly from there. You can put business hours on it, or let's say someone's dedicated to answering any texts that come in throughout the middle of the night. You can switch out the phone with different people throughout the week. There's a firm that we work with here in Charleston where the attorneys take shifts, right? So one attorney may have the responsibility for texting back clients Monday through Wednesday, and then the other one, Thursday and Friday, and the other one Saturday and Sunday. So there's a lot of ways you can get creative with that without having to overthink it. So a few action items here. How are you going to collect your leads? Who's going to respond to the leads? Where are leads going to be stored? How quickly do you want your team to respond? And what messaging channels are you going to use? Again, it's kind of simple. Looking at this, it's kind of a no-brainer, but there are a lot of law firms that have gaps in their process. And we don't want you to be one of those. So by answering these questions and kind of figuring this stuff out, you're going to be positioned to capture those leads and follow up with them. So getting to the end here, converting leads into clients. So we've got the clicks, we've got the leads. How are we going to get them to become a client? So if you got a lead from your website or a funnel or another platform today, what would your office do with it? I think that's a great question to answer. And for a lot of law firms, it's kind of sobering because they don't know. They don't know what that next step is going to look like. Just creating a checklist of touch points is going to be kind of that first step to making sure that you're following up with leads and really capitalizing on your marketing efforts. So the bar is set way too low. Only 40% of law firms respond to emails. 56% of phone calls were answered by a person. And more than half of firms don't respond to voicemails within 72 hours. Can you imagine how frustrating that would be for someone who is, they've carved out a couple hours of their day to kind of figure this stuff out, right? Like they've taken a little bit of time off of work and they're going to call a bunch of law firms and, submit a bunch of forms and do some research. And yet they can't get a phone call back. They get a phone call back 5 days later when they're back at work at the most inconvenient time for them. So think about your clients and what they're needing, what they're going through, and try to do better than this. I think by having that system in place, delegating this responsibility to someone else, finding, either a front desk receptionist, a virtual assistant, or a call answering service is kind of that first step to making sure that your leads are taken care of. 79% of clients expect a response within 24 hours. So if you compare that to this slide here, you can see there's a pretty big disconnect between what consumers are expecting and what law firms are delivering. You can be super competitive with your ad spend, with your marketing, but if you're not closing that gap, then like you're leaving money on the table and you're disappointing clients at the very beginning of the client journey. So 3 things to think about as you're figuring this stuff out. Who's going to respond? Who's responsible? Who's going to be communicating with these leads? Second, what's that process look like? How are leads communicating with you? And how are you responding? When are you responding? Figuring out like what that process looks like. Again, just a simple checklist to show like all the touch points that you're going to have with the lead. And then finally, technology. You can use the technology that you currently have, but if it's insufficient, look for other options out there that are going to help you consolidate your communication. It's going to help it keep on track, making sure that you're really tracking those leads. Just a quick slide here. Again, little checklist. Who's responding? How quickly are you responding? What channels are you using? How many times are you going to follow up? And do you know where your leads are in your pipeline? So the last 2 we didn't really talk about. How many times you're going to follow up with your lead. That kind of goes back to this question of process. Are you going to follow up 3 times? Are you going to follow up 4 times, 5 times, 6 times? What does that look like? And how far out into the future are you going to stretch that? If your personal injury or criminal defense and the need is fairly acute, I would say that like the follow-up needs to happen on a daily basis over the course of a month or 2. If it's estate planning, that may be something that, they may not be ready to make that decision. They're just doing some due diligence. So that follow-up could extend well into a year, even 2 years, depending on the type of practice that you have. And then finally, where are the leads in your sales pipeline? Not every lead's going to be the same. If a lead downloaded an ebook, that's a different lead than someone who's actually called your law firm asking for an appointment. So you have different stages of the pipeline where someone may be opted in, to an ebook or a webinar or some sort of lead capture. They've contacted your firm, they've had a consultation, they've signed a retainer, or they have a retainer in their possession. So think about all those different stages, list those out, and start to use your CRM or whatever tool that you're using to track those leads through the sales pipeline. So here's just an example workflow. Take this with a grain of salt, but this is just kind of a way that you could potentially follow up with leads. So let's say you receive a form completion or a web chat with the lead's phone number, their email address, and their name. You can immediately send out an email to the lead requesting more information that could be automated. A follow-up text could also be sent, if you have the phone number and you have a way to text with them. Then you could call them the following day if you haven't gotten a response, then send another text message following up. And then you can continue this process until they schedule a consultation with you. It may seem kind of heavy-handed, but a lot of times people get busy. They may not be able to do it right then and there. By putting this in front of them and putting it on their plate throughout the course of the week, it's going to lead to more conversions. You don't want to be the one that's silent. There are firms that are out there doing this exact same thing, and they are the ones that are getting the leads and they are getting those leads to turn into clients. So just by implementing a little bit of a process and like a quicker follow-up time, you can actually maximize your marketing dollars. So a few action items. What currently happens when someone completes a form? Be honest. Did they get an immediate response? Is it, a day later, 2 days later? How can you automate this or get it to them as quickly as possible? What should happen when someone completes a form? Who should get that form completion? Who should be responding? When should they be responding? What does follow-up look like? How many times are you going to follow up with someone? Are you going to follow up by calls? Are you going to follow up by email? Are you going to follow up by text messaging, or all the above? Then think about what's going to happen if they don't convert. So like if they don't convert within the first week or the first 2 weeks of this sequence, what are you going to do to maximize that lead? So are you going to put them on like an email drip campaign? Are you going to send them a newsletter? Are you going to follow up in a month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever it may be? So having a process for like that, what we call like a long-term nurture, is really important as well. All right, so we're almost to the end here. Thanks for hanging in there. But this is probably one of the more important pieces to this. So a lot of what we've talked about in the last couple of slides has seem very manual. It's kind of labor intensive. It's very, it's a big undertaking on your firm to create these processes and to hire these people to delegate these tasks to and this responsibility to. But there are ways in which you can automate this. There are ways that you can scale this without having to build out your team. And that's what we want to talk about here. So prospective clients are not always going to be ready to hire you, like we've talked about. It takes roughly 9 touch points to turn a lead into a client. Now, touch points don't necessarily mean that you're reaching out 9 times. It could just mean that they've interacted with your firm 9 different times. So an action item is to count the number of ways in which a client may interact with your firm. Could be a referral that went to your website, that then went to your social media. They may have seen an ebook, and then they downloaded that ebook. They got an email. They received a phone call from your firm, or then they saw some sort of local advertising. So you can see how all of those different touch points didn't require a lot of heavy lifting from your firm, but you have all those different pieces in place. So that way someone can have those multiple touch points before contacting you. If all you have is a website or just a Google My Business and there's only one digital touch point, then those touch points are going to have to be more manual. So we've talked about not following up with your leads. This is one of my favorite quotes. Fortune is in the follow-up. This is so true. If you're not following up with your leads, then you are leaving money on the table. The good thing is that you can actually automate almost all of the nurture and follow-up here. So this is just a screenshot of a nurture sequence that we've put together for a law firm. And basically what it's showing us here is if someone fills out a Facebook lead form, we have a way to communicate with this lead automatically without having to manually enter in a message, right? So this could be the same thing if someone downloads an ebook or watches a webinar. They can get put into an automated sequence that nurtures them to contact your firm for a consultation. It could even link out directly to your calendar, right? So if you're using Calendly or some tool like that, you could use this automated nurture sequence to get people to contact your firm and to put time on your calendar. So kind of the client journey and why this is important is people are not always sure about what they need to do. If this is the first time that they are looking to hire an attorney, they may not even know what their problem actually is, and they may need to do a little bit of due diligence and research. Something that you can do through your marketing is you can help people identify what their problem is and put a name to it. That right there is going to help them kind of figure out what that next step is. So once they know they have a problem, you can identify a solution for them. And that could just be hiring you. That could be, that white paper or that ebook or that webinar. Give them something that's going to solve that problem. Once you do that, they're going to be aware of all the different services out there that they can choose from, right? So once they know they have a problem, they know there's a legal solution, they can look at different attorneys in your market. When someone becomes most aware, that's when they are aware of your products and services, and that's when they're most likely to buy. So if you can capture them at problem aware and kind of help them with your marketing, showing them that they have a problem that you can solve, then you're going to be more likely to kind of funnel them down into that most aware category. So where this all starts, we go back to the beginning, that clear marketing message with your ideal client, pinpointing their pain points and their problems, and then finding ways in order to engage them, with either a direct call to action or transitional call to action, and nurturing them up until the point that they're going to hire you. So I want to show you just a quick nurture sequence here. This is one that we use quite a bit for our clients. You can do this on your own, but basically we have 6 emails. So if someone downloads an ebook or watches a webinar, what are 6 emails that they're going to receive? Number 1, we're going to have a welcome email that kind of welcomes them to the nurture sequence that delivers the piece of content. The second one's going to be a solution. So again, identifying you as the person that can solve their problem. Number 3 is going to be some form of social proof. It could be like a testimonial. It could be a case result, something that shows them that you've helped other people just like you. Number 4, you want to list out objections. So why would someone choose not to hire you? Are they scared it's going to cost too much money? Are they scared it's going to take too much time? Are they afraid they're going to make the wrong decision? List out those objections and answer all those objections in this email. The fifth email that you can send out is one that is kind of highlighting success. So again, show your clients what success looks like. Show them what life will look like after representation. And don't forget to mention like what's going to look like if they don't do it. Like if they fail to take action, if they fail to hire you, what's going to happen if they do that? And then finally, you want your call to action. So this is where you're going to make your big pitch. If they haven't contacted you yet for a consultation, this is the one where you give them that direct ask. So, we know that you have a problem that we can solve, and we can do this successfully for you. And we know that we can get you to kind of like the finish line of what you're trying to accomplish. We know that you don't want to hire an attorney. We know that you want to solve this problem, and hiring an attorney is a means to the end. If you're ready, contact us today for a free consultation or a paid consultation, whatever it may be. But again, go back to that slide on direct calls to action and just be very explicit in terms of what they can expect when they contact you. So a few action items here. Look at the solution, name the client's problem, explain how you solve the problem, and demonstrate the benefits. Again, this should be evident in all of your marketing, but especially in like a long-term nurture campaign. Include social proof in your marketing. So share testimonial, provide a case study, list recent case results, name objections that someone's going to have for hiring you, anticipate those objections and overcome them. As lawyers, like that is like exactly what we do all the time, right? Like we're always anticipating the opposing parties' arguments, and we're creating arguments that support our point of view. And that's exactly what you want to do here. Fourth, success. What does your audience want to accomplish ultimately? How can you help them accomplish that objective, and tell them what life is going to look like after representation? And then with your call to action, it needs to be clear, it needs to be explicit. Demonstrate the value of that call to action. How is it going to get them one step closer to what they're trying to accomplish? And then finally, tie it into success. Paint them that picture of success, of what life will look like after representation. Show them what will happen if they don't take action. All right, so that is the end of the presentation. I'm going to stop recording this, and if anyone who is here has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. If you want to learn a little bit more about Nomis Marketing and how we can help you kind of accomplish some of these marketing objectives, you can scan the QR code here. We have a CRM that we use to kind of build out these different types of campaigns. So we'd love to talk to you about that. If you are looking to create an ebook or PDF checklist or a webinar, those are things that you can all do on your own, but that is something that we help with as well. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. We'd love to talk to you. Thanks, everyone, and have a good day.